welcome to today's episode of Free to Lead, Journeys of Leaders Driven by Passion, Inspired by Purpose. And today we have Seif on the show, and Seif El-Seif is a dynamic self-made entrepreneur and the visionary founder of Newfore, a leading construction and renovation company based in Ontario, Canada. Now, initially, Seif was in the mining and metals industry, working on remote locations across British Columbia. And then he started to invest and renovate properties. And in just 3 years, renovated over 190 units, which is pretty amazing. And he skillfully turns abandoned projects into high-value properties. He actively shares his expertise through podcasts, public speaking engagements, and he's aiming to inspire aspiring entrepreneurs and real estate professionals by emphasizing his principles of discipline and living as an entrepreneur. So without further ado, Seif, welcome to Free to Lead. Great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes. So interesting career. So you're a civil engineer and working in these remote locations in the mining industry, and then came into real estate. Can you give us your backstory, how that all happened?
Yeah, I studied engineering. I've always had a knack for construction. I was born and raised in Dubai during the biggest boom I could say that has ever been seen out there. And
Yes.
I've always had an interest in construction. Obviously, I come from a family of engineers. So coming out of school, I worked for a construction company. I loved it. I went back and worked for a consulting firm doing strictly engineering in the office. I didn't like it so much. So I
Yeah.
went back into construction and I started taking on remote location work, doing mining and metals. I worked in northern British Columbia. The nice thing about those is you work very long hours and you have very low expenses. So you get to save a lot of money.
Mm.
And when I saved a lot of money, I told myself that I don't want to do this remote location work anymore because I saw that the lifestyle of a lot of people around me was not something I wanted for 10, 20, 30 years. And I said, I got to do something in the city. So I got a job in the city, worked also for a contractor, but I was making half the pay with quadruple the expenses. So I was just barely making it by.
Mm.
But the good news was that I saved a lot of money. So I went and I bought a house and had a little bit of money left over. So I bought my first rental property. Needed very little work. And I did work. It was less than $10,000 in work, but I managed to split that house into 2 units. There was already a finished basement with a kitchen and everything,
Yeah.
but just a little bit of miscellaneous work so that it can actually become its own independent units. And that's where I got my first rental to a duplex. From there, I bought another property after that. And the second property needed a lot more work where I had to create the basement unit almost from scratch.
Oh.
So I ended up doing that. I hired a general contractor because at the time I was working for a consulting firm and I had a full-time job, so I didn't have too much time. So I figured there's a lot of value in bringing on board a general contractor. So the job was supposed to take 2 months and cost $30,000. It ended up taking 7 months. It cost me $55,000. And I remember telling the general contractor, I think I can do a better job than you. And he says,
Mm.
absolutely not. He laughed. I got rid of him. And I took on the project myself. And here we are today, over 200 units later, and we're doing a pretty damn good job. So
Yeah.
for me, my biggest thing is what I stand for is you always have to do what you say and you always have to be accountable. I feel like that's becoming more and more rare these days. But if you set something out and you stop at nothing to get it done, you already have a superpower because far too little people are accountable for the words that they say. So I never want anybody to go through that same feeling that I went through when I got stiffed by a general contractor and he was dangling the project by threads and didn't end up delivering. So I created
Yeah.
a company where we have an extremely accountable team. And something like that is never ever going to happen to any of our customers.
That's great. That's great. That's music to my ears. One of the things I coach business owners in is that being your word, following through, having integrity, because without that, things don't work. Things fall apart around you. So it's music to my ears to hear you saying that. And then I thought it was very interesting that moment when you decided to step in yourself.
Mhm.
That's the See, that's the moment in life, right? Because you're paying everybody else, and then you stepped in, and all of a sudden you discovered something. What did you
Yeah.
discover when you stepped in?
Oh, I discovered that definitely construction is an art and it is not my strong suit. And I got to learn it. So it definitely wasn't that easy. I'm making it seem a lot easier than it was at the time.
Yeah.
But what it did show me is the importance of being accountable and taking responsibility, no matter what the cost is and what the implications are.
Mm, brilliant. Brilliant. And one of the best advices I got, which I didn't like at the time, I asked Werner Erhard, how did you start this whole entrepreneur enterprise? It's like, all these people, and he goes, I don't know. You just start. And
Yeah.
I wanted some idea, like to tell me how to do it and all of that. They said, no, you just start. And it's true. You just start and you figure it out. People are waiting to have it all worked out, read all the right books, got all the right advice and all of that stuff. And then what you need is a moment. Sometimes what you need is a moment like you had, which just forced you into stepping in. So I think it's
Yeah.
pretty great. What's that may or may not be the next question. So my next question for you is what do you think's one of your biggest challenges?
I think part of my biggest challenge is every time the business has scaled and grown and hit a new glass ceiling,
Yeah.
is me facing the harsh reality, which is that I still have things that I need to work on, and those are always coming to light. And every time it happens, I think, oh, you know what's happened? I'm probably good now. And we're at a stage right now where we're implementing a system called EOS.
Hmm.
And this EOS system really forces everybody to be accountable and look at yourself and look at your shortfalls. And like just hearing all my shortfalls all the time is very difficult and painful because we tend to overemphasize the things that we're doing well and downplay the things that we're not doing well. And that's what stops us from growing. So each time we're hitting a new level, I have to face those again and again. And it's just always difficult.
Very good. Two points for myself. EOS, just for everybody listening, they might not know what EOS is. I don't. What does EOS stand for?
EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It
Right.
is a framework that businesses almost of any size can run in order to balance traction, vision, your culture, and everything in your business. It teaches you to manage business by a scorecard based on 5 to 12 or 15 different numbers.
Yeah.
And it really gives you a very good handle of your business from every single different facet.
Good. You just remind me. I have heard of it actually. So that's yeah. Great. Great. I acknowledge that you're willing to own those parts of you that need developing, that quote unquote don't work about you, right?
Yeah.
That as a coach, that's what we're always going to work on. We're going to work on what's having you be the lid on your business. And as you said, you've got these glass ceilings, you've got these levels, typically get into seven figures, then get into 3 million, and then get into 10 million, and then get into beyond that. There's structures have to change within the organization, and that means you as the leader have got to open up to something. So, is there anything you can share about some of those for you that stand out?
Yeah, different stages of the business, you need different things to become successful, right? To get from zero to a million is like next to impossible. It's so difficult. You have to do a million different things. But the problem is you have to do them all yourself because at the beginning it's a hustle. So
Yes.
what gets you from zero to a million is a straight hustle. It's tough and it's a grind, and you're selling and you're executing the work and you're selling again and you're balancing, you're keeping the expenses low. And at the same time, you're trying to sell a lot more. So it's a hustle. To take you from a million to 3 million, you need people. So you need to start investing back in the team a lot, right?
Mm.
And then to grow beyond that to the 10 million plus, it's all in the systems, right? You have to put back in the systems and the culture. So it's different things make you successful at different stages.
The next stage is to
No.
100 million, building leaders in your organization, which this is all about being free to lead. What denotes a real leader is one who's willing to have others be leaders and promote that, cause that around them. Yeah,
Mm.
that's great. That's great. Where do you see yourself in like the next 5 years? Obviously, you're moving fast by the sound of things.
In the next 5 years, I think we'll be doing what we're doing now, but we're going to be a lot better at it, a lot more efficient. And right now, the stage that we're going through to break through this glass ceiling, so to speak, in EOS is I, for the first time ever, have my direct reports are managers of managers. So really, it's developing, it's a different layer, right? Because like I said, before the 1 million mark, you're a manager for the first time ever because you might be having one or two or three or five different staff for the first time.
Yeah.
But when you're going past the 3 million, you have a bunch of different project managers. So now the managers report to you.
Yeah.
And then now we're at a stage where I have a core executive team and we're just four people. And they definitely have a lot more reports under them. So I think 5 years from today is going to be developing them a lot more
Yeah.
so that they're more effective. And effectively, I create four carbon copies of me in different fields.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I think we'll be there. And I think if we do that, we could be at 10x.
Yes. Very great. Very great. What would you say to someone in one of those stages? Let's take one from each stage. So somebody's, let's say they're around 500,000 a year and they're looking to get to 1 million, right? And it seems, I'm working this hard. How can I get to 1 million? It's working this hard to make 500,000. I want it, I can see it, but what would you say to that guy or gal?
I would say that most people will get stuck around like the 3 to 500 mark.
Yeah.
And usually they hit that glass ceiling because they've invested nothing into sales and nothing into marketing.
Yeah.
So the 3 to 500 is just based on maybe word of mouth. They do a little bit of work. They post it on social media. They don't really put much real ad spend. And I say real is a key word. They don't put real ad spend behind it. Maybe they post something and they like it. And one day they decide to boost it. Someone happens to see it, give them a call, and they land a job. It's all by fluke, right? That's why those businesses, small businesses, fail 90% of the time within the first 5 years. And it's
Mm.
because of that. It's only going to last you for so long. So to break past that first glass ceiling is you have to understand sales and you have to understand marketing, right? So what that means is picking up a book, a course, attending a webinar or something for advertising and marketing campaigns. Understand how to build a funnel and put some real ad spend behind your business.
Mm. Great. And then what would you say to someone who's they've cracked the 1 million, they've started to employ one, two, three people? What would you say to them on the way to 3 million?
On the way to three, you got
Yeah.
to invest in your people.
Well, what does
So
that mean? What does that look like?
what that means is you bring people that have management potential, right? So for example, if you've already gone past 1 million,
Mm.
you probably have one or two or three key members, okay, that are excellent at their job. So let's say you're running a construction business,
Mm.
okay, like in my case, you have that one person that is just dialed down in the field and they know how to do everything. They do the best quality work. They're hard on everybody around them. They're accountable. They get everything done. Okay. When I say to break to 3 million, you got to put the right people in the right seats and hire the right managers.
Mm.
That does not mean taking that person and making them a manager because you now lost their output. So what you have to do is you have to put the right people in the right seats. And that's what hiring the right people means. You may have that person that is an absolute rock star working under a new hire that happens to be a more accountable and better systems oriented manager.
Mm.
So you have to start building out management. But management does not just mean getting your best person and putting them in that role because
Right.
they may not be an excellent manager.
That's right. That often happens in engineering, like in tech companies. Somebody's really great at the job, they make them a manager, and they're terrible at being a manager.
Oh, yeah. Management is very underrated because people that just think that they boss people around and tell them what to do. And I could tell you from experience that the hardest part of management is not telling people what to do. If everybody did what they were told, we would have no problems in business. Everybody would have a multiple nine-figure business. The
Yeah.
problem is people don't, people have different limitations and different restrictions and different capabilities. And just you telling them to get something done is not going to get done because that might be 10 steps away. And depending on the person, one person might be able to, you might luck out and someone might be able to see 10 steps ahead, but most people can only see one or two steps ahead.
Mm.
How do you break it down for them where you're showing them two steps at a time? That's what
Yeah.
management is. And at the end of the day, management means it's your name on the line. And that's the hard part, is that you're accountable.
Great. Great. Awesome. So interested in speaking to you. How would people find out about you? In fact, what kind of person would be reaching out to you, Saif?
We're a construction company, so if you're looking to really turn around your home, or you have a home in an older area that needs a little bit of work and you want to improve your lifestyle and have a beautiful place for your family to live that feels amazing, that's probably who's going to contact us in the Toronto area.
And how do they reach you? How do they find you?
You can go to our website, www.newfore.com. Newfore is spelled Newfore.
Brilliant. All right, great. Thanks for being on the show. It's been so great to get to know you. And somebody's listening to that. They might listen to this a few times and take some notes, because it was very precise, the advice that you were giving. So thank you so much. Will Steele here. Thanks so much for listening to the Free to Lead podcast, Journeys of Leaders, driven by passion, inspired by purpose. If you're a successful leader and you're driven by passion and you're inspired by your purpose and you'd love to be a guest on the show, we'd love to have you. Just visit podcast.willsteele.com. That's podcast.willsteele.com. Will Steele is spelled Willsteel, all one word. If you got something out of today's interview and you'd love to share it on your social media, we'd love you to do that. You can take a screenshot on your phone, you can text it to a friend or post it on your socials. And if you know someone you think they'd be a great guest, tag them on social media or just let them know about the show and include the hashtag Free to Lead. I love seeing your posts and suggestions. We're regularly putting out new episodes and content, and to make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, your ratings, your reviews, and your comments go a long way to help promote the show, and that means a lot to me and my team. If you want to know more, go to our website, willsteele.com, or follow me on LinkedIn under Will Steele, or Facebook under Will Steele, or Instagram under Will Steele Coaching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.